All right, and just like that, we should be live. So, hello to everyone. 12 months in the making. 12 months in the making. All
12
right,
months.
12 months. This is going to be interesting. I'm not too sure how this stream's going to go, actually. I've sort of bounced back and forth with a few things and sort of thoughts and yeah. Incidentally, if anyone can hear any noise in the background, my young bloke's not having a good night, unfortunately. So hopefully it's not too loud in the background. But if you can hear that, that's just what's going on. There's nothing too strange. Um, So look, I guess to give people background. So 12 months ago, I think a bit of a tongue-in-cheek comment was made on a six-pack that give me 12 months to deconvert Jay from Buddhism to the light that is atheism. Um, and we even went so far as to set a stream as far in advance as we could, which was literally 12 months, thus the 12 months. And it's just been sitting there. So, anytime we go to log into anything, there it is. It's just sitting there, the deconversion of Jay. So here we are for the deconversion of Jay. So, all right, first thing I'm going to ask you, Jay, um, I value our friendship, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I need to make sure that you're okay with how this conversation is going to go. Because I'll be frank, I'm not going to be kind to Buddhism.
No, no,
Um,
no, no, no worries.
I, I think it would be hypocritical of me to give you a pass or a softball when we pretty openly like poke fun at not that you're a Kent Hovind, but we'll have
Yeah,
questions
no, no,
and
yeah.
we'll challenge people's religious views, and this is something that's a little bit different where we're a secular channel with a Buddhist co-host.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I guess I need to just make sure that at the end of this, we're still going to be fine.
Oh, no worries, man.
Too easy. So I guess that's the good thing about Buddhists do get less angry than Christians. So I'll give you that one straight up. Because look, I mean, it's a little bit hypocritical of me. I think at times that one thing that I really do criticize is I'll have a go. There's a lot of polytheist, or what I call polytheist infiltration of the atheist community, where a lot of polytheists seem to be allied with atheists, or some crap like that, which I think is ridiculous. But I sit here with a Buddhist co-host. But I mean, I guess to put some context into it, you've been Buddhist since I knew you, but you were secular. You were a secular Buddhist when we first met, and that's
Mm-hmm.
shifted. Now you sort of focus. You're, I guess, more of a spiritual Buddhist. How would you define yourself, Jay?
Um, the term actually is called Theravadardian Buddhist. Um, and there is where most of it is secular, most of it relies on yourself. There is a um almost a spiritual aspect to it where Theravadardians are it's one of the oldest sects of Buddhisms. Um, it is mainly found in like Thailand, Cambodia, Laos.
Yeah, it's that sort of southeast, sort of
So,
that
yeah,
real Southeast Asia. Yeah,
yeah.
um,
So there is a lot of spiritual aspects to it. Not so much like Mahayana, yeah,
yeah,
Mahayana
yeah.
Buddhism, where they're more into like the gods and the demons and things like that. Where Theravardin are more inner inner spirituality, more of a karma, reincarnation, that type of thing.
All right. So I guess
Um,
forgetting what Theravada or Vajrayana Buddhism
mhm.
teaches. What do you believe?
I am that we are responsible for our own actions. We determine how our life goes. The our our actions have consequences, i.e., karma. I'm still not 100% convinced in reincarnation. I do
Okay.
believe there are aspects and there are possibilities. I'm not 100%. I don't. believe that there absolutely isn't anything in reincarnation. There, how can I put this right? The possibility is out there. I don't know for sure.
Incidentally, I was just going to say, if anyone does have any questions, tag me. I'm going to do my best to keep an eye on it. If you do a super chat, we'll probably ask it pretty much straight away. But it's you don't. Not everyone has the ability to super chat, and we certainly don't want to exclude people. But just so I see it, because it's hard to have a conversation and watch the chat. But if you tag me in it, it flashes up and highlights it, so I do see it. So just tag Hereticals. So, okay, what's interesting there is you mentioned karma, but not too sure on reincarnation. I would have thought that those two would have gone hand in hand.
They do. And when I say karma, I don't believe that the cosmos will, like, if you do something bad, the cosmos will punish you for it, type of karma.
Yeah, because that's a doctrine I have a big issue with in Buddhism in general, the whole issue of karma. But it sounds as though you have a different take on it. So maybe so I don't go attacking karma and have you go, well, I agree. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What's karma to you?
If I'm being an ass to you, then karmically you will be an ass to me. If I do something nice for somebody, hopefully something will happen nice to me.
So do unto others as they would do unto you.
Exactly. It's do unto others. But I said in my studies over the years, I have learned some things, and it's hard to mush down 13 years of study into a little conversation here. But it's getting to a point where I see things in a different way. I see what my actions can do. I will, like we do almost every week. We go after, religion in a whole, and being a religious person myself, I do expect that pushback. I don't get a lot of pushback, I think, because I don't attack it in a negative way. I try to understand,
and you also don't sit here and proselytize.
Yeah, I tried when I attack different religions, and attack is a bad word because it's not really attacking. It's more asking the questions, criticizing what they believe in. I'm trying to do it respectfully. I'm trying to go in and I'm trying to understand their reasonings. And I think that karmically is why I don't get attacked for mine. If that makes sense.
Okay. So, all right. So there's a couple of questions that are popping up that I'll jump in with. So Ed's asked, how many sects of Buddhism are there? It's probably fairly similar to Christianity, and I guess there's a couple of main ones, but then a lot of offshoots. I think that's probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah, there are three main. I can never remember what the third one is. You got Theravada, Mahayana, and there's another one. And then offshoots of those.
The more Japanese.
Because Zen falls under Theravadan. So it's not a main.
I guess you'd almost look at it like Catholic, Protestant, Orthodox.
Yeah, and then little offshoots. Yeah. There's not as many offshoots as there are like Christianity, but there are millions of offshoots because Buddhism represents to each person differently.
Okay. So Nerdy Rodent has asked, does good karma and bad karma depend on social norms of good and bad? That's an interesting question.
From my experience, it can and it can't. It's kind of one of those, because if you attack someone socially or do something or do something good so in a social settings, a lot of times those will come back against you socially. So it's just like everything you do in your life, whether it be now or later, or with your friends and family, or with your neighbors, what you do will come back around. It'll circle back around. It doesn't happen instantly. You could do something 2 years ago and made the wrong comment to somebody, and it may take that long for it to catch up to you for a backlash type of thing.
So is that like a universal principle, do you think?
Yeah,
What controls karma?
You control karma.
Okay, so if I were to say, right, well, I don't want any bad karma to come into my life, but I don't care what I do. I'm going to be a bit of an asshole, but I don't want any bad to come back into my life. You wouldn't be able to. That wouldn't be how it works. So the individual wouldn't be able to control karma in that way. Is that correct?
In their actions, they will, because your actions is gonna reflect on what's going to come about with you. If you want to be an asshole, karma is going to come back and bite you in the ass at some point, because somebody's going to be an asshole to you, or take something from you, or do something bad to you because of the way you're acting itself.
Okay, so I guess
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I just didn't want to misquote you. So I guess where I've got a big issue with karma is I see it fairly similar to hellfire doctrine, where bad people get punished, and there's, especially in younger people, there's that fear. And one thing that I guess in my research that I've seen is a common thing throughout, I guess Buddhist children, is when they've had a bad life, there's a lot of it is linked to reincarnation. They'll think that they were someone horrible in a past life, and this is karma coming to get them. But when horrible things are happening, and we don't need to go into details, but where's the principle of karma there? Like, where someone who is good, when bad things happen to good people, or when bad things happen to innocent people, but then the mental effect that has on someone who's got that belief, it's almost like a spiritual way of forcing a victim to take the blame.
That will come down to the karma's. See, this is where this is part of the thing I have a problem with. This is something I'm still studying and something I'm still learning, because that comes into the reincarnation aspect. If I was a horrible person in my previous life, karma will start off on that aspect when I'm reborn. So if I was, I'm going to pull from what I know. If I was a serial killer in my previous life, this life, I'm going to start off horrible. I'm not going to, because karma is going to tip and balance the scale on that. So now, once you get into there and you're in the next life, you work towards bringing the bad karma energy down. It is one thing. That's why I'm still on the fence between karma and reincarnation, because a lot of those, for me, it is hard to grasp.
I was going to say, do you see an issue with that in a similar way to a hellfire teaching? Like, imagine
I don't see it as an issue like with hellfire, because in Christianity, when you go to hell, you're in hell for eternity, burning for your sins. In Buddhism, you will be reborn so you can correct your wrongs. It's probably the easiest way, to bring about it. But that's where the supernatural karma reincarnation I still have problems with. That I'm still trying to understand, still trying to get a feel for it, that I haven't quite understood or came to that realization, because there's still, like I said, there's still a possibility it's true for me, but I'm still on the fence where it's not reality.
Because I guess Well, then I guess to my next question, and I have seen the questions in the chat, and I will get to them in a second. As far as the overall control, is it a god, a gods? Where do you sit? Because I
No,
know that
it
there is
is
different
it is you.
beliefs.
It is you. You control you. You control your suffering.
But then who
Um,
decides who gets reincarnated where?
that is still something in my studies, because I don't go into the spiritual studies. I should specify this before we go much further, because I think this is where we're catching um a rift here. Is my studies are self-reflecting.
Mm-hmm.
It is to balance my suffering um in what I perceive in my everyday life.
Okay.
Now, like I can tell you one thing. One of the things Buddha had said is never dwell on the past. The past is already gone. Don't ask. There's no reason to ask who created anything, because every question you ask, someone answers. You can have a follow-up question for that. So, an example, the Dalai Lama said, when what Buddha's talking about is like, well, Christians will say God created the universe. Buddha will tell you the universe was always there, but at some point it had it, and somebody would go, well, so it had to have a beginning at some point. He goes, okay, it had a beginning. Something happened at the beginning. Well, then what caused that to happen? And what caused that to happen? And what caused, you can have an infinite questioning. So to dwell on what started it all, who created everything, does nothing for you. It will do nothing for you and nothing for your something, because it's always there. It's always there. It will always be there. There is a time. That's not right. There. It makes no difference in who you are and what you do with your life.
Mm-hmm. So I guess if I were to ask you directly, so you do not believe that there is a God or a creator being?
No.
Okay.
Nope. For me, the universe has always been there.
Okay. So it's almost
in one form or the other.
So I guess I'm trying to understand with your version of karma. It'd almost be like if I came on and said, Jay, I think you're an arsehole. Fuck you. You would probably turn around and say, well, fuck you too, arsehole. Is that kind of that balance, that karma?
Well, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. So if you watch, I know people have, and you've mentioned it before, and a lot of other people have too. When you watch my interactions with people, and I get this even on other channels, a lot of people will say I'm probably one of the most respectful people you'll ever meet when it comes to conversations. And I try to be, because if I'm respectful to you, you'll be respectful back to me.
Yeah, so I've got no problems with that as a principle.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, if it's, I guess it comes from that do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And I don't think that's necessarily a religious principle. I think that's just, if you're going to be an asshole to someone, expect they'll be an asshole back, sort of thing. And unless there's some spectacular reason why not. Okay, so I'll grab to a couple of questions that we've had. So Ed wanted to know if you've ever been accused of cultural appropriation.
No, because Buddhism has no cultural appropriation. Buddhism is for everyone. Buddha believes that everyone can become a Buddha.
I wouldn't imagine that you would get accused of cultural appropriation from Buddhists. So I'm thinking some crazy Americans.
No.
That's okay.
Even Western Buddhism, there's no issues with Western Buddhism. It's like I said, it's unlike a lot of other religions. Buddhism is not a hellfire and damnation type. It is not out there to scare you into some servitude, depending on which branch you go down.
I'd argue that with the whole reincarnation karma issue. I think that's just, okay, yeah, it's not a permanent thing according to the religious belief. but it's still a thing. I mean, and I think it does do damage to children when, they a 7-year-old who something terrible's happened in their life, or they're born into abject poverty, where they can find themselves blaming themselves because of that situation, because, well, it must have been something I did in a past life. I've got a big issue with that. And obviously I don't buy into the spiritual side. I'm not convinced that you do either. I don't know how. I think you're... Okay, so when we met, you were secular.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between then and now?
Inner reflection, probably. I learned a lot. I had it. It's pretty much everybody knows. I had I took a 10-day vow of silence, and I learned a lot during those 10 days that I can't articulate out. There's just, I don't know. It was an internal learning is the best I can explain it. I see things differently than I used to. I don't know. Like I said, it's just a matter of my perspective on what I've learned and what I've read and what I internally take in has changed. I guess is probably the best way I can explain it.
Okay. Because what I'm hearing from you is I'm still hearing a fairly secular. It's almost like a philosophical perspective with meditation and probably a bit of understanding of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. If I ever came off saying as not a secular Buddhist, then that is my mistake, because I am still secular for in the grand aspect of things. I'm still a secular Buddhist. But I'm starting to understand the thought process and in the meanings behind the spirituality part. If that helps in understanding what's going on.
But yeah, I guess because I know that there's certain. I think even Theravadan Buddhism does believe in, I guess, a greater being, almost like a Brahmic kind of similar. Well, I mean, it's an offshoot of Hinduism essentially.
Yeah.
So it's yeah. Where do we go from here? All right. So, a question from Nerdy Rodent: how do you reconcile science and karma?
Oh, now that is an interesting.
Incidentally, Sandy, you got your spanner.
Walk softly, carry big stick. Buddhism is one of the few religions that will tell you if science disproves this, then you go with what science says and not what spiritual teachings will tell you.
Okay.
Does it make sense? So let's, as an example, in the beginning, back 2,500 years ago, a lot of people still believed the world was flat. Even in India, where Buddhism started, and then branched in and went from there. There are people who still believe the world was flat.
Not as many as you'd think, but
yeah, I know. Yeah. But when we figured out, or when it got to them that the world was round, then that belief in it was acceptable because it's proven. It is something proven. Unless you're a flat earther. So that's where if science can disprove something, then you go with what science says on the matter. It used to be believed that the earth revolved, the sun revolved around the earth. Now we know that's not true. So that aspect will change in the course of beliefs and studies and stuff, because that is what is going on. So Buddhism is not if it comes to a point where we can scientifically prove karma does not exist, then karma should be removed from the Buddhist doctrine. Because Buddha teaches if science or proof can be proven, then you go with what can be proven.
Okay. So essentially, it just sounds like a philosophy.
For the most part, it is known as the philosophical religion.
All right. So when you say light a candle, okay. So where I used to live, they used to have the largest Buddhist temple in the southern hemisphere. It was almost within, well, not quite walking distance, but maybe if I was keen, but not too far away from me. So I did go up there a few times just because it was a beautiful building, and I'm not going to lie, they did the best vegetarian food that you will ever eat in your life.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so there is, there's statues, and people would go in and light candles and pray. Who are you praying to? And do you pray?
Yes.
And who do you pray to?
To the Buddha. But here's I say one prayer. Well, I say two prayers. My first prayer is of north, south, east, and west. You'll see me do it sometimes here on the show, where I light my incense and I'll turn the four directions. And I give, and what I say is I'm trying to find the right word because it's lost in me at the moment. But basically what it is I give myself to the Buddha, I give myself to the Dharma, and I give myself to the Sangha. That means I give myself to the teaching, to Buddha himself to bless me in my actions. I give myself to the Dharma, which is the teachings of the Buddha, and give myself to the Sangha, which is the Buddhist community. And then the other prayer I say is, I'd be like, bless this room with good thoughts and good intentions.
So when you do that, are you actually expecting that a blessing will come over the room, or is it more just a feel-good kind of saying?
It is. When I first started doing it, I was just doing it to do it because that's what you did. But now I do kind of look at it, even though I'm praying to the Buddha, I know Buddha is not a god.
You're not expecting a divine.
Yeah, I'm not expecting a divine intervention. What I'm doing is I'm telling myself that I'm giving myself to the teachings. I'm giving myself to a way to improve myself, to be kind to others, and things like that. It is to remind myself not to be a dick, basically.
So I'm going to give you an example. So what I used to do before, I guess, say a big business meeting or some big event where I had to do something, I used to have this thing that I'd do where I'd sort of look in the mirror and just go, "You've got this. You've got this. Breathe. You've got this." Mm-hmm. Is it a similar thing to that? Because that was just me psyching myself in.
Yeah, it's a similar. It's similar. A lot of times. Oh, it's I seek refuge in the Dharma, the Sangha, and the Buddha. That was the word I could. Mm-hmm. It's early in the morning.
And it's late at night, so.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm getting from this is you don't believe in any God or gods. Do you believe that there is no God?
The Christian God? Yes. Well, this is where this is where I have this is where I put my conspiracy hat on.
Okay, if you bring up Bigfoot or aliens, I'm gonna love you, but
those of you that know me know I do believe that there has been, I want to say, visitors that has helped humanity along. Aliens. And I think that is where the aspect of gods and gods have come from. Now, whether it be aliens or a civilization or a race of whatever that was here before us, I don't know. That's where my conspiracy hat, the other side of the conspiracy hat, goes, no, you're being dumb. But I still believe, because for me, if I look at the world where it's black and white, I miss the gray and I miss the wonders of the world. Because I can look at things and go, that's not real, that's fake, that's not real, that's fake. But if I open my mind just a little bit, then I can still enjoy things and still believe that they're not real. If that makes sense. Do you understand that?
Yeah, no, I understand what you mean. So I guess, and the reason I was going to get to that is because having this conversation, I'm trying to work out if I would. This the next question I was going to ask you was going to be one of two, depending on how you answered that, and I'm still not too sure which one to ask. So I'm going to ask you both.
Mm-hmm.
Question one is: so, are you an atheist who leans into Buddhist philosophy for self-improvement? Or question two, are you an agnostic who leans into Buddhist philosophy for self-improvement?
I don't know. I would say I am me. And I try to see the best in everything. So if that means it is best for me to believe in gods, then I will believe in gods. If it's best for me not to believe in gods, then I won't.
But is belief really a choice?
And
I say that because, I mean, I actively believe there is no gods.
mm-hmm.
I wish that wasn't the case. If I had the choice, I had a very comfortable existence in Christianity. And certainly at the time I was deconverting, if I had the choice, I would have taken the choice of no, I choose to believe. But you can't control your beliefs. I guess that's what I'm getting to.
Yes, I understand where you're coming from, but at the same point, I think you can be in charge of what you believe in. And I say that because we'll take an example. If you tell a lie and you tell that lie so many times, or you tell a story, I won't even go with a lie. If you tell a story so often and so many times, at a point, you will start believing that story.
Mm-hmm.
So you may not believe the story when you start, but at some point, if you continuously on and continuously on and continuously on, at some point, you will start to believe your own story. So that's where
that's still not a choice, though, is it?
That point's not a choice, but you can choose to. We'll just take the Christian God. Mm-hmm. You can choose to believe that there's a God there. That it's your choice to believe that there is a God. Whether it's proven to you, I mean, we've got that there are my sister, for an example. She's been proven that there's, but she still believes that there is one. Now, whether or not that's her holding out and hoping and believing, or believing itself, I don't know. It is hard
because I mean, I wouldn't deny that, certainly, and I guess to use Christianity as the example because that's what I'm familiar with. That there's people who go to church every Sunday, actively involved, will go to their Bible study groups, but don't really believe. But they like the lifestyle and they like the culture and they like the community that the church will bring them. Now, those people don't believe in a God, but they choose to adhere to the beliefs. And I think there's a big difference there.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, I guess the irony is there's nothing really to deconvert you from, I don't think, because really it's a philosophical point of view. That's I think you're still working it out.
There was a question.
I did see that from.
Well, there's a couple. There's a couple more here I wanted to take a stab at too.
Yeah, shoot, go for it.
Okay, we did that one. Okay, from.
Incidentally, we're having a conversation about ancient aliens on another stream, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Just making sure.
Now, I've always said Ancient Aliens is one of my favorite shows ever.
You know what? You're really going to like it when we do the Raelians deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
I think you and me might do that one together, actually. But
okay, so from the Crabby Hermit, how can you affect the world? Well, I kind of guess Crabby answered their own question. Answer by working on your own issues and leaving what you can't control to those who can. Exactly. If more people, and I have always said this, if more people would mind their own business, the world would be a better place.
Yeah, I think we can all affect the world.
Yeah.
In the smallest thing can change the world. I mean, if it wasn't for a driver taking a wrong turn down a street in Sarajevo, and the wrong person walking out of a sandwich shop, World War I would have never happened, which completely changed the world. Led to massive changes. But then I think you can also choose to affect the world in the way you want to. I mean, I do this. I started doing this because I wanted to create a place that people who were non-believers could come and feel safe to sort of discuss. I guess every time we go out and vote, in a way, we affect the world if you choose to vote. Ed, I think he's a good example of someone who's made some choices that have that affect the world. He's he made a decision to turn his life around and make some changes, and from that, there's been a lot of positive. And it's not only is he impacted himself, but he's impacting others. And not just the people involved in racism. We wouldn't have had anything to do with racist Ed, I can assure you. But what a great friend we've got. It's every morning I get myself a coffee because of Ed. He's affected me there. I think that is a fair one. So Sandy did ask also, who's in charge?
You're in charge.
Sandy's in charge.
Yeah,
I like that. I'll go with that.
Well, it depends on what you mean by in charge. Obviously, if you're working somewhere, your boss is in charge. But overall, you are in charge of your own actions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There is no God up there pulling the strings and pointing you into a direction, or telling you that I know what you're going to do for the rest of your life. There, you have no choice in the matter. You're going to go down this route.
You're starting to sound like an atheist. Ooh, the deconversion of Jay.
But you are in charge of your own actions. Is the best way to. You're in charge of your own actions. That there is no guiding hand guiding you down a path. You have to choose the path that you're on. No one can choose it for you. Obviously, there are people in your life that are going to change or help influence which path you go down. Because you could be headed down this path and meet someone like Chris, and now your path has gone this way.
I tend to do that to people.
Yeah. I can give you a good example. My path here on YouTube was almost to a point where I was done. I wasn't going to do it anymore. I was just going to pack up my bags and leave. I met Chris. I was with. I've known Jen my entire time I've been on, but it's not. To me, it was just we were doing the same things over and over. That's not true either because we didn't do the same things over. It wasn't getting to a point where I was enjoying what I was doing. And it's not against Jen because I love doing stuff with Jen. I do stuff with her I was doing stuff with her all the time. I stumbled upon Six Pack, and I met these more wonderful people. I met Chris, I met Vagrant Sam. We've met Ed, and through that we've met Claire and we've met Matt, and Jade.
Yeah.
So if I'd have stayed, if I hadn't have met these people, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be bringing the laughs, bringing the joy to people that we bring every week. I wouldn't be bringing these studies that I bring on Wednesdays. And now, thanks to Raven and Chris and Claire, I am now bringing more information on the new channel out to people that may not know.
Everyone should subscribe to that, by the way. We'll get some links out soon.
But
Ed can chuck the link in the chat.
Yeah, Krabby does say U-turns are allowed in the road of life. Absolutely,
of course they are. Yeah.
You can absolutely turn around your life. I mean, we see it all the time with recovering alcoholics, recovering, drug addicts. There are prisoners that will turn their life around. There are politicians, which is few and far between, that will turn their life around.
Usually after they've been caught doing something and there's a press conference involved.
Yeah. So it all depends on the interactions you make with others, on how your life is going to proceed. If I'd came in when I first met Chris and went, fuck, I got another Aussie, I don't want to deal with this anymore, and just didn't want to do it. I got enough Aussie with Jen. I don't need more Aussies. We wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be over. God, we got to be approaching 100 episodes of Six Pack.
Yeah, I think we just did 95 or 96, actually.
Yeah.
But by the end of the year, we'll hit the 100 mark.
So, we wouldn't be 100 episodes in a Six Pack. I wouldn't be partnering with Chris on this endeavor, bringing this stuff to you guys. So I look at it. If you want to look at it in the Buddhist aspect, karmically, I've put myself where I need to be. Mm-hmm. Because my actions have brought me to where I'm at. If you want to look at it in the Buddhist sense, karma has done that. Karma has put me where I need to be. Karma has fixed what I need to fix. I guess. I like Brilliant said, except for the karma thing, I like Jay's approach to how he views himself in the world.
And look, I probably agree with Brilliant. Karma is a big issue for me, but I guess it just depends. If it's just don't be an arsehole, I can kind of live with that. I don't necessarily have an issue with that because my attitude is if I'm an arsehole to you, well, I have to expect that, if you're an arsehole to me, so be. But I guess, there's people who I've been nothing but pleasant to and nice to who have then turned around and treated me like shit. I mean, have a look at some of the people who were on the cancel train for me. People who I've been particularly nice to, but because there's a disagreement of opinion. Now, do I think that karma is going to come back and bite them on the ass? No, not really. They can if they can sleep at night, good luck to them. But incidentally, you just made me have a look. Assuming we don't have any breaks for Six Pack, guess when Six Pack number 100 would fall? Christmas Eve.
Really?
Yeah. So we might have to make a decision about do we... and then the week after that is New Year's Eve. So we might have to make a decision about whether number 100 is the week after, whether we have it, because it's Christmas Eve and, or whether we do 6 Pack.
Christmas Eve for me is fine because we go over to my mom's in the afternoon. So
I've got kids and
Yeah.
be prepared to let Santa Claus in. But anyway, we'll work that out. That's
Yeah.
yes. Sorry. There we go. Here's the answer to our question. Jay will be busy Christmas Eve. So another question that's come through. I should have just clicked on it. Does Jay do a daily routine of prayers and reflections?
This is where I tend to uh, lax. I haven't. Oh, crap. Yeah. Sorry, Raven messaged me, and just like my mom said, we go early in the morning. I forgot about that. Yeah. So,
There we go.
yeah. So Christmas Eve is a no.
We might do a Thursday night 6-pack and
Yeah.
Yes, we'll work it out.
But I don't do a daily routine. I don't believe it's necessary. I will do it if I'm feeling that I need it. So I don't. I don't believe I need to pray and reflect every day. If I'm having a good day and everything is going good with me, I don't see where I need to pray and reflect. But if I'm having a bad day, if I wake up grumpy or like Ed all the time, or I wake up
waking up like Ed, that's never good.
Or something that doesn't feel right, then I will take a minute. I will take some time to try to reflect on what's going on, what has happened, that type of thing. But other than that, no, I do every time I'm on stream. I do bless the room. For a good show, for good intentions. When it is kind of this is where the belief system for me is kind of odd and kind of weird, because there were times where I will 100% be a spiritual person, and I will, like, if something new comes into the house, I will bless that something, to remove any bad energy.
Mm-hmm.
But half a minute later, I can tell you there's no such thing. So it's a weird combination I have of, like, I will tell you right now, I will not have a Ouija board in my house. The things freak me out. No thanks. I've seen too many horror movies.
But you don't actually believe that the Ouija boards against, surely, do you?
Raven says, "Stop blessing my stuff." I don't know, and see, that's where I have that gray matter, because intellectually, I know it's not true, but emotionally, it gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Oh, fair enough.
So I am a Buddhist. I 100% believe in the teachings of Buddha and what he teaches about self-reflect and trying to reach nirvana. But at the same time, I have issues with some of the religious, spiritual aspects of it. It's kind of weird,
Yeah. No, I think you're an atheist Buddhist personally, but you can define yourself however you want to define yourself. Based off our conversation, I mean, if I was jokingly going to say the deconversion of Jay, I don't think there was anything to deconvert. I think it's just a philosophical thing. Karma, okay, that's...
Yeah, they said that the
I think
karma...
your interpretation of karma isn't necessarily the interpretation that a lot of people would have. We do have a question from Nerdy. If Jay met the Buddha on the road, what would his next course of action be? I guess I'm going to make you answer that two ways. I think the first one is if it was like the ghost of Buddha, I guess that's going to bring in the spiritual side of things. That's certainly going to that's probably going to change your thoughts there. But let's just say let's say that Doc Brown's given you a time machine. You've gone back and you're cruising around northern India 2,500 years ago, and up comes Buddha. What would you do? And assuming you speak the language, we'll give you a universal translator as well.
I will step out of the way and give him the passageway. I will greet him as he walks by. If he stops to greet me, then I will have which he will, because that was Buddha. Buddha greeted everyone, and have a respectful conversation, because that is, and when it comes down to it all, if we respect others, we can respect ourselves. And vice versa. If we respect ourselves, then we can respect others. So it's a kind of a thing. If I was just to, walk by, push him out of the way and just keep going, that's not very nice of me. That is not a polite thing to do. And Raven will tell you when we're shopping, when we're walking around people, I'll say, excuse me all the time. Pardon me. Excuse me. So, it was, you get the old saying, you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
Now, Raven did say to stop blessing her stuff.
Yeah. Did I bless your table?
This is a good question, actually, from Shmi. Who are Jay's water friends? Is Ed one? And if so, can I become one too? I think we'll take that as a comment rather than good on you, whoever that is. That's funny. I reckon it's probably. I figured it's either you or Ed, but I don't know. It's one of yours. Ted wants to go out in the town with Buddha. Imagine that. Go hit the pubs.
I don't. It depends on how you would hit the town. I think because Buddha did enjoy a celebration. So,
well, he wasn't exactly a skinny dude.
No. You're thinking of the wrong Buddha. That's a different Buddha. When I say the Buddha, I'm talking about Siddhartha Gautama. If I remember right, the one everybody knows is the big fat Buddha. I think his name was like Miaitaya or something like that. It's a completely different. He was a Buddha, but he is not the Buddha.
Okay.
He's that Buddha is known as the Jolly Buddha. As you'll see, he's always laughing. He's always enjoying himself. He's big around. It is because there have been many Buddhas. Buddha just means enlightened one. So when people talk about Buddha, the Buddha they're actually speaking of is Siddhartha Gautama, the first Buddha. Well, he's not really the first Buddha. I think he said he's the fourth Buddha, but that's the one that brought us the teachings.
Okay. So I think actually something I am going to address, and this is kind of going off topic, and this is something you and I can address right now, actually, because I'm going to call this shit out. Ed says that I'm still struggling to respect myself sometimes, hard letting go of the past for me. Ed, I didn't know you in the past. I suspect that we probably wouldn't have gotten on. But what I do know is I know who you are now. I respect the hell out of you. And I don't give respect easily. I'll always be polite and cordial to people, but respect is not something I give. I respect the hell out of you. I think Jay would say the same, and I know plenty of people within certainly our sphere that would say the same. So, Ed, your past isn't who you are. That's not you. Your now is who you are. Don't let decisions that you've made in the past define what tomorrow is going to bring for you. That's what I'd say, mate, because you're a legend. I love you. I think, it's. I think there's plenty of people. I think unless there's a couple of trolls in the chat, I don't think anyone within this community would disagree. Dude, you're a good guy. We respect you, and I understand it's hard sometimes, but the past you isn't you.
Yeah. Now, on that, I mean, I 100% everything Chris said, 100%. You know, brother, I love you. You know that. But it is okay not to respect yourself for what you did, because what you did is wasn't good. But you were, like Chris said, you were not who you were. So you cannot respect what you did, but you've turned and you've learned from it, and you've become more respectable, not only to yourself, but to others in your community. So you use this, and you have done it, is you've learned from your mistakes. You're working your way through these mistakes. They're gonna haunt you. They will haunt you. I don't think the actions that you did will ever escape you, and they shouldn't escape you. But as you get on with your life, they should be easier for you to deal with as you go on.
But I think the fact that it acknowledges and has guilt over his past shows what a decent person he is now, what a good guy he is now, and I think that's something that you want something to respect. That feeling that you feel of regret for the past, that is worthy of respect. And I will argue that until the cows come home. But anyway, that's Ted says, I like you, Ed. You're a good guy. And you know what? I think Ted's clearly a very good judge of character. So we do have another question. Is the Buddhism you ascribe to striving for perfection or enlightenment? And what does that mean to you, if so?
Well, first off, you got to understand what it's not perfection, but enlightenment. Now, enlightenment for me is just as the Buddha teaches, the end of suffering. And when we say suffering, we're not talking about, horrible, I'm going to suffer with back pain for the rest of my life. It's the wrong type of suffering. When in Buddhism, when we talk about suffering, it's more of saying the right words, doing the right deeds, things like that. If you get a chance, if you want to learn more of it, Buddha teaches it's the Four Noble Truths. That right there will tell you everything about Buddhism in those 4 sentences. This is one I always have problems trying to remember the Four Noble Truths, and this is where I have issues. Because I know them, but to recite them, I always have a problem. This is where my old age comes in. my brain doesn't remember things like they should.
You made the old age joke because if you didn't know, I was probably going to.
So I'm trying to give a. Okay, I think I've got it. So the Four Noble Truths is life. It always involves suffering in obvious and subtle forms. Even when things seem good, we always feel an undercurrent and anxiety of the uncertainty aside. Then we have what causes that and how do we end it. Those are the first noble truths. So you acknowledge that there's something there, what causes it, and how can we and what can we do to end it. The fourth noble truth is also known as the Eightfold Path. That is what will guide you to end suffering. It's the right thought, the right speech, the right actions. So yeah, that is, and that right there will tell you everything you need to know about Buddhism in a nutshell.
Okay.
So the truth is suffering, the truth of the cause of suffering, the truth of the end of suffering, and the path that frees us from the suffering. So the dukkha, the samyata, the nirhoda, and the magga. So that's
The Marga.
yeah, the magga.
Oh, hang on now. This is an interesting part. So why did Buddha want to make America great again? Because it's got to all be
MAAGA.
Oh, geez, if the crazies found out that the Buddhists believed in Marga, oh, they'd be. Oh, that's funny. Anyway, sorry, that's a side point, a bit of a joke. Look, I think this has been a pretty cool conversation. There's one last question that I'm actually going to answer, which is from Ed. Do we still call him the BBC even though he doesn't believe in a God? I don't know. I'm afraid of upsetting the BBC, but I don't know. Maybe
there is a question I want to answer.
Oh,
what is enlightenment, anyways? So, I've touched on it and I've approached it before. Enlightenment is when you reach that point where all suffering is gone. You no longer have suffering. You no longer need to be reborn. In the Buddhist belief, because every time you're reborn, you are either one step closer or one step farther away from enlightenment. Because, and here's I'm going to bring this up because I know at some point somebody will ask me this question, and I've got to do it now. If there are more people alive today than there were when Buddha preached these, how does that happen? Where the souls come from? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. How do we have more people now than we did if people are being reborn? Because you don't necessarily had to have been a person in your previous life. You could have been an insect. You could have been an animal.
there's
that is what the Buddhist reincarnation believes. I'm still
life had to start at some point.
Huh?
Life had to start at some point, so that would actually disprove reincarnation by that theory.
You could have been a rock. That's where I have problems with.
Rocks. Aaron Ra was right.
This is one of them things where I have problems with the reincarnation aspect but like I said before, there is no. If you ask questions that don't really mean anything to you, then you're going to run around. You're going to run yourself ragged asking yourself why. Why this? Why that? Well, if this was this, and why this? And why? If that doesn't pertain to you, then the question doesn't need to be asked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to know that the Earth is 4.6 billion years old. Doesn't mean anything to me. I am here for my lifespan and then I'm gone. Or I will be reborn again to start over. Or I won't. That doesn't impact who I am today. I don't care that 100 years ago, or well over 100 years ago now, because I keep thinking we're still in the 1900s, because I'm an old guy. We didn't have electricity. Don't care. That doesn't affect me now. So that doesn't affect my day-to-day living. So I try not to burden myself with a lot of those questions. I will look into things just because it fascinates me. But in the overall grand scheme of things, it makes no difference in what I do with my life. It reminds me of the comment I had on that guy that was talking about Australia yesterday.
Which one?
The one that we back and forth with the facial recognition.
Oh, crazy dude!
I told him. I said, you live in New York. What the hell does it matter to you what they're doing in Australia? Because it doesn't. It has nothing to do with you. In New York City, what's going on in Australia has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Why would
Sure.
you insert yourself and scream totalitarianism and Big Brother when it doesn't affect you? This goes back to my mind your own business, But to a point, though, there is a point where you will need to step up and you will need to interject yourself into something. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that nobody should ever help anybody ever anywhere, because that's not true. But I don't care what you do in your bedroom. I don't care. Well, unless it's illegal.
Okay, well, hang on.
As
You say you don't care what I do in my bedroom. Why did you try and sneak that camera in?
Lizzie told me I could.
Okay, fair enough.
As long as what you're doing is consensual between you and whoever you're doing with it, it makes no difference to me. What you do with your life doesn't affect me until it does affect me. Mm-hmm. So I don't need to worry about what you're doing if it doesn't affect what I'm doing now until it does affect me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Does it make sense? I know as I explain it, I start to talk myself around in circles. So yeah, it's
no, cool. I think well, I think we've hit the hour mark and it is getting a bit late here. I know you've got the day ahead of you, but I need my beauty sleep. But look, I think this has been an interesting conversation. It went a different way to the way I thought it would. Sorry, Jay. Yep.
Well, I was just gonna say I'm willing to stay on and take more questions if you guys want to. Like I say, I got up early to do this, so I've got plenty of time. So I know Chris is got to go get his beauty sleep.
See, if you were really a believer in karma, you would have said, "No, Chris, you don't need your beauty sleep. You're already beautiful."
You're a handsome fella.
But I guess I have been calling you an old bastard, so maybe we've proven karma. Oh dear.
And Belinda, I get that 100% because Belinda says I understand what you're saying, but I don't agree, to be honest, and I get that.
Funnily enough, I don't necessarily agree with you either on that because I think that okay, yes, you can say that things don't like. Okay, so it's interesting you mentioned New York. Okay, because one of the most impactful events that I've ever witnessed was
9/11.
the Twin Towers. Yeah, I'm not American. I've never been to America. I've never been to New York, but that had a profound impact on me. Watching that, and things in other countries will have even in history. I guess as a historian, you'll sort of mention. Okay, well, you used electricity as an example, and I guess that's not really anything that's a great thing to think about. Apart from, I guess, if you think about how people lived and how people suffered, I mean that impacts me on a human level because I sort of it's hard reading history sometimes because history's shit. I've got my head's all over the shack at the moment because I've been having to do research on the most evil person who ever lived, who I won't mention on stream because that'll just mess it up. But he was a German from the 1930s and 40s. You can work it out. I'm having to do some research and write a paper on him, and that affects me mentally. So I don't necessarily agree that that things shouldn't concern us. It's if if there was if something happened in the US, I would have concern for my friends who are there. I would have concerns, even though it doesn't affect me directly. I think you've got to remember that the indirect effect of things certainly has an effect. Even if you look at, I guess, American history, I mean, there's still violence and stuff happening in the US because of what happened 500 years ago, 400 years ago, 300 years ago.
I can say on that is I think in my ramblings I might not I didn't say it or I didn't come across right because I said mind your business until you can't or until your business. Okay. You should mind your business until you need to step in. I think would be the best way. So if, like, we'll do 9/11, it affected everybody, right? But if those people on the plane would not have worried about what we were doing in the United States, then we wouldn't have had them flying the planes into the towers. If the United States hadn't worried about what was going on in the Gulf, then we wouldn't have put ourselves in that position to have these people now come and attack us for what's going on. It's a horrible cycle because once again, it's one of those, if this, then that, then this, then that, then this, then that. I mean, we could take this all the way back to the beginning of whatever.
See, I take your point as to, look, whether the Earth is 4.6 billion years old, 4.7 billion years old, or 4.8 billion years old. It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect me either. If they turned around tomorrow and said, actually, we've just discovered that the Earth and the universe is only 100 million years old, okay, well, that doesn't really bother me. I've probably got to review some of the some archaeological records and a few things, but realistically, it's not going to impact my life. Apart from, I'm probably the worst example for that because it's what I do. But I think.
Like I said, when I say mind your business, I don't mean mind your business in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, there are things that we should definitely be involved in.
I'm just really quickly going to say, I think that's funny. I can't stand Greta. I believe in climate change. I can't stand Greta Thunberg. I think that's funny.
And I'm going to I don't care what color your skin is. Doesn't affect me. I don't care what you do in your bedroom as long as it's not illegal. Doesn't affect me. Those are things when I say mind your business. Those are things I mean mind your business. When we talk about situations that will harm other people, 9/11, World War I, World War II, then yes, there are times when you mind your business doesn't make sense, doesn't work. Because yes, there are times you're going to have to step in, you're going to have to do things. But for most of the things that happen in your day-to-day life, makes no difference what your next door neighbor does on his own time until it affects you. So I don't care that my next door neighbors are up till 3, 4, or 5 o'clock in the morning playing video games. It doesn't affect me until now him and his old lady are having a fight and she's out there breaking shit and throwing stuff and screaming at 2 o'clock in the morning, waking people up and the neighbors. Now it becomes a problem. Until then, you mind your business. You don't worry about what they're doing.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think that's just a good principle in life.
Yeah, that's what I mean when I say mind your business. It doesn't directly involve you on your day to day. You shouldn't worry about it. But there are things you're going to need to step in again.
So what I might do is I might wrap the stream up. I will end the stream just because it's we are, I guess, at our heart still a secular channel. Look, I think this has been an interesting conversation. It went a different way I wasn't sure how it would go, actually. I was a bit stressed that it might turn into a bit of a train wreck. I was stressed that you and I might argue more than we did, but really I just think it was a good conversation.
Yeah. Raven said she broke the neighbor's fence. Yeah. Because
as long as you're not that neighbor.
Yeah, so it was funny because I used that analogy because that actually happened. It was something that happened a little while ago. Well, not a little. It's been, 2 years now or something like that. If you're gay and black, then skin and bedroom politics isn't your 24/7. If you're straight and white, then not so much. So lots of scope for variables.
It depends on the person.
I
think we spend too much time focusing on physical attributes and who's what and trying to put everyone into categories. My attitude is I don't care. so long as you're not hurting anyone. But the whole skin color thing, it just baffles me. As someone who studies anthropology, we all come from the same place. We all trace back to the same place, and there's not too many people who are just purely one thing or another. We're all a bit of everything. 6,000 years ago, the inhabitants of England were, indistinguishable from, sub-Saharan African. The skin tone was the same. It's just dietary conditions and sunlight that change that. But I don't know. I just, it's one thing that bugs me. I think there's too much identity and tribalism. I think once we move beyond tribalism, we'll be a much better society.
See, we need to work our way to the Federation.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It depends which version of the Federation we're talking. Federation's a bit messed up in the latest Discovery. Incidentally, I'm just going to Star Trek Discovery. That's something that bugs me.
I don't watch Discovery, so I'm like,
well, the geniuses that make it decided to pull it from Netflix worldwide, because we've always had it on Netflix. Which is okay. That's the decision they've made. That's no problems. And in Australia, it'll be back on Paramount Plus next year, 2022. Only problem is it's airing in the US right now. That bugs me because that's basically how you guarantee that your show is just going to get downloaded. So anyway, so that's a complete off topic. All right, let's wrap it up there. Thanks everyone. It's who's I guess been in the chat, who's engaged with us. I think there was one crazy in there before who was trolling, but Raven, you don't mess with the chat when Raven's around because she will block you faster than yeah. But no, good chat.
I'm really surprised Krabby didn't drop the hammer down on him too.
I thought that was going to happen, actually. I thought that's why it's like when Krabby said, give me the spanner back, I'm like, yep, cool, we're getting a blocking. But
bye, Ted.
Yeah. Incidentally, Belinda, you might be surprised about you never assume. What I've learned is never assume people's I hate using the term racial identity, but never assume people's ancestry. You might be surprised. You might be surprised. The lighting here is hitting in a certain way, but you might be surprised. But look, no, I think identity can impact people in different ways, but I think it really comes down to the individual. But that's not what we're here for. That's not what we're here for. We're here because we need to celebrate my successful deconversion of Jay, who has conceded here tonight that he does not believe in a God, and the BBC is now the BAC.
Atheist, I have never once claimed that I believed in a God. So
that's right. No, I'm claiming this. I'm claiming this. But yeah, and Belinda, don't get me wrong. I wasn't. It wasn't being negative there. It was that was me, I guess, responding to what you mentioned. But we might save that for another one.
Raven says she's currently waiting on one more comment from someone else with the hammer thing, because Krabby said I was waiting for the next statement. It either didn't come or she beat me to it.
I think they've left, but anyway, that's all good. All right. On that note. We'll wrap it up there, and wherever you are on this planet, whether it's have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, and be Jay's water friends is what I'm saying.
Be water, my friends.